here at KubeCon and Cloud Native Con, and today we have with us Michelle. I have been trying to grab hold of her forever. We have spoken on phone, but never face to face. So finally, I got you. So Michelle, oh, of course, this is a stupid question, but I will ask you: what are you doing at KubeCon?
I am having the time of my life attending KubeCon. Mm-hmm. Last time I helped organize KubeCon as co-chair, and this time I don't have any speaking gigs. I'm just hanging out, talking to people, going to talks. So yeah, just learning about how people are using cloud native tools and what the needs are, and just talking about the stuff that I'm working on as well, trying to see if those tools that I work on also meet other people's needs, meeting people in the community.
Yeah, because I mean, you have exposure to different perspectives. You hang out with the community, and you also, as part of Microsoft, you also have access to partners and a lot of other. What are the pain points that you have seen that the community is facing that you are trying to solve with these tools?
Yeah, there's two that I can think of that come very top of mind quickly. One is it's really hard to pick from all of the cloud native technologies and figure out how they work together, because you're, at the end of the day, trying to deploy and run applications in the cloud or on bare metal. And then the second one is how do I expose my developers to this stuff? How do I expose my team to this stuff and get them to actually use cloud native tools without having to learn about everything from scratch? So just with Kubernetes, you have to learn what a pod is and what a deployment is and what a replica set is. And before you even get to that, you have to learn about containers and how do I build my images and where do I store my images? And it's just, to people who work with this stuff every single day and, who are in the bubble, it seems like that's an everyday thing that's so simple, you'll just figure it out. But to someone who's coming in, it's really overwhelming. So I've been working in that space, trying to make this whole situation a lot easier for developers to understand and use.
Mm-hmm. And these are all open source tools, right?
Yeah, so two tools I work on regularly are Helm, a Kubernetes package manager. So that helps you package your application for Kubernetes and then install it on Kubernetes. It's like Homebrew for Kubernetes. You can do you can do a brew install MySQL. You can do a Helm install MySQL on Kubernetes and get a MySQL running on Kubernetes. So that's been the tool I've been working on for a few years now. And then for the past year, I've also been working on a tool called Draft. And Draft is a tool designed specifically for developers. They can use Draft to work with their existing source code and containerize it and deploy it on a Kubernetes with just 2 or 3 simple steps. So, yeah.
And one more thing, while we're talking about KubeCon, what are the new use cases, interesting use cases? Because everybody's using Kubernetes. It's kind of amazing to see that it's beyond, I think, what original authors thought about it. So, what are the exciting use cases you have seen?
Yeah, those are that's always fun. So there's 2 that I got super excited about. This one guy is building a PaaS, platform as a service for robotics on Kubernetes. I just think everything with robotics is really cool, and IoT.
It has to be, yeah.
Edge is really hot right now. And then also I went to a talk. Someone named Danny from Circle CI gave a talk. She talked about how they're using Kubernetes for Circle CI, but then they're also using Nomad to schedule builds because they needed the scale that Nomad supports. So I'm really excited about seeing specific weird business use cases and how people pick and choose technologies and put them together in this space.
Now, just flip that, and when you see all these use cases, what are the challenges people face? Because it's new technology, and they're still dipping their toes in it.
Well, it's you have to learn so much before you can actually figure out how pieces fit together. So that's such a good question. I see people coming in and they're like so excited to learn. And then by the end of the day, they're so exhausted because they're looking at YAML files and they're looking at like metrics and they're trying to piece everything together. And you see these people who have been in the industry for so long, have either, had years of experience or just like really senior people, have seen a lot clearly. They'll like come out and just be completely lost. And I'm just like, that's a huge issue. I think we need to make things simpler for people to understand, and I think we need to like speak up when things are challenging or difficult, because it can get really easy to be like, hey, well, all you have to do is install this, and then you have to do this, and then you have to do that, and then you have to learn about this thing, and then you have to go outside of your machine to like go set up this account somewhere else. So it just becomes like a lot of steps, and it's like cloud native tech, usually don't you just use one, you use like a few together, so it can add up there.
I don't know whether you want to answer this question or you don't want to get into there, but you came to Microsoft through an acquisition, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about the kind of culture you saw, because from outside we used to look at different, now we have a totally different Microsoft, very friendly, very open Microsoft.
Yeah.
So what has been your experience?
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. I was really nervous going into Microsoft. I never saw myself as a big company person. Not what I expected. And honestly, I was on the fence when we were doing the acquisition. I was on the fence. So, but what really got me comfortable was meeting lots of people from Microsoft, people who are invested in the space and in open source. And I mean, the welcome was overwhelming, and I think I wasn't expecting that. And everybody in the community was so excited for us to be acquired. We have good relationships with, I think, every company that we've ever interacted with. This is a very friendly community, I would say. So when we got acquired, I was learning about Microsoft, and so were my coworkers, and we were tweeting about Microsoft, and our friends in the community were like, yeah, we like feel this way too. Like, we're surprised too that VS Code is actually really awesome to use, and they're supporting languages like Go, and Linux is a thing. And so it was cool because I was learning about Microsoft, my friends in the community were learning about Microsoft, and everybody was just so nice. So for a while, I was like, when is the other shoe going to drop? But I mean, I've learned that there has actually been a cultural change, and I'm excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, I have spoken to a lot of people at Microsoft, and yeah, it's kind of amazing, that it's incredible evolution to see. And the funny thing is that these days everything is open source.
Yeah.
And it's really great to see that you see competitors, hardcore competitors, Red Hat, Google, Microsoft,
Yeah.
but suddenly you see everybody here together under the same booth working. It's amazing,
Yeah.
So the way open source brings people together.
Yeah.
So can you comment on that, because you also work with the community very closely,
Yeah. I think the incentives align really well, right? Like, you don't want to work on a project by yourself. You need to work with other companies. And it's just nice to see that come together. I've had a good experience with the community. I've been really involved for a while now. I co-founded and code-led SIG apps within the Kubernetes community. That was a really cool opportunity. I got to meet people like Sarah Novotny, who mentored me. I'm on the Kubernetes steering committee now. That's like kind of the governance committee for Kubernetes, and that's been a really, really interesting place to be, because I write code on a daily basis. I don't do governance things, but I wanted to be involved in that because I really want to see this community go in the right direction, and I want to have a say in that, and that's been a really cool experience too. So yeah.
Right. And now there was a recent CNCF survey, and the adoption in Asia and China is growing rapidly, and then there will be an event in China also.
Yeah.
I mean, Microsoft, if you look at Microsoft as a company, it's a global company, a lot of work going on in different countries. But when you look at open source community and when you look at adoption in a country like China, so
Yeah.
you're not looking at just consumption, you're also looking at contribution coming back. But the thing is, do you see the language and culture
Yeah.
can become a barrier? If
Yeah.
yes, at the same time, you have companies like Google and Microsoft who have been, so how do you think you can lower the barrier, so that it doesn't really matter, the culture or the language.
Yeah. So when we first started, like a few years back, because I was running SIG Apps, I was like, well, we want to be inclusive, so we'll do meetings in different time zones. And I asked some folks from Australia and China, just the general APAC region. I also asked Europe, so Europeans were fine with us doing that morning meetings, Pacific time, because that's the end of their day, and that worked out really nice. But APAC, that region, they actually said that they didn't want to be a part of the meetings. They wanted to see the recordings and read the minutes. So we focused very heavily about making sure that the meetings were posted as soon as possible after the meeting, and that the notes were good and heavy, and so that people could catch up. And that's because they have a language barrier, or we have a language barrier, and so they want to see the video, take it slow, and read the notes. That's more helpful. Recently, we've seen people from that region want to actually come and demo at the meetings and be more involved. And so we're trying to figure out, should we have a meeting like once a quarter in that time zone for the people that are there, because we want to be inclusive and we want to make sure that everyone's voice is heard. I think the KubeCon event and Cloud Native Con event in Shanghai will be really telling. I know there's a lot of interest there. Even in Japan and China, I was on the program committee, so I read the papers that were submitted for, the cloud native tracks, and there was so much interest and so many interesting use cases from that region. So I'm just excited to go learn more about that. I'll be in Japan for Open Source Summit, and I'll be in China for LinuxCon.
Right. You said that that by that time they were interested in demo and
yeah.
What was the reason? What was the reason that they are more they're using the technology more, and or you created an environment where they felt comfortable to talk about it? What was the reason?
I'm not sure, actually. I really couldn't answer that. I think it could be that everybody's having fun in the community, and so it is a friendly community. It is a welcoming community.
So they felt comfortable at the same time.
Yeah, everybody who's reached out to me has been so excited about wanting to be actually part of the community and be active and not just watch and observe, because they're clearly already using the technologies and have been for a long time. I mean, we see people like Alibaba, JD.com, all these big Asian companies talk about how they've been using Kubernetes in production for a long time. So they've been using this technology. But I think that, the environment and so much growth happening and all of that in this community made them probably want to contribute and be part of it.
Right. What will be not the Asian KubeCon, because I know the focus, but what will be the focus of, I think it's Seattle, right?
Yeah, December, Seattle.
Yeah. So what will be because I think in the domain of Kubernetes, it's hard to predict, in 6 months, you never know what will happen, So, but what will be the focus by the year end?
I don't know. I think my prediction, though, is...
You have a crystal ball in your room?
I think, no, I can only tell you in retrospect what happened, right? For the first KubeCon, we were so what's a pod? Everybody was on the same page. We don't know what a pod is. And then we went along and they were like, okay, how do I do CI/CD? And also there's these other projects. And then, what is monitoring and logging? How do I do that? What is a service mesh? How do I do that? And so we've kind of grown. Now it's more of how do I teach this stuff to the rest of the world? Right. How do I make this stuff simpler? I think we're going to see more of that. And I think maybe at the end of the year, I'd really love to see us go into the direction where a developer's environment is just like the production environment, and they have all of the monitoring, logging, tracing, all of the tooling that's available in those, production, high stress environments would be available in their developer environment. That's what I want to see by December, but I don't know what what's actually going to happen.
New buzzwords will pop up. We are already talking about serverless and function as a service and BaaS, so you never know.
Yeah.
Because I think CNCF came up with a white paper also to try to define what is serverless.
Yeah, and Kelsey's super passionate about that.
Yes.
You can definitely see all of the clouds kind of gearing into that aspect as well.
Anything else you would like to touch upon that I missed?
I think that, I mean, we can talk about like CNCF's initiatives, like with diversity. I think we are trying to get more people involved, and I'm not, well, we've been doing this scholarship, so I think I just want to give a shout out to everybody who's been working on that. That scholarship committee is hard work. So
Yeah, because diversity is something which is very close to my heart.
Yeah.
And on the day one when Dirk Hohendel from VMware, he talked about, I mean, he has been I've known him for so long, and so when he said, hire more women, promote them. So it's also nice to see. But the thing is that Linux Foundation has always been
Yeah.
very, very proactive when it comes to diversity. They have a child care center where people can bring their
Yeah.
kids. And I used to bring my son all the time.
Oh, cool.
My wife and Linux Foundation events were the only events where I bring my whole family. Not now because I have two sons and they would be like running around everywhere. But diversity, luncheon and all the other meetings
Yeah.
are there. But from CNCF's perspective or from yours perspective, what are the efforts that are going on to?
Yeah, I'll talk about my favorite one. I really love the women's event the night before KubeCon and Cloud Native Con. We always have a governing board meeting and a dinner, but I always like leave those like halfway so I can go to the women's event. So we started that in Germany, and it was like, okay, well, we want to promote diversity. We want to, I mean, there's lots of different types of diversity
Yes.
also. So, but, I'm a woman and that's, something that I want to help with. So I was like, we should have this like women's dinner or brunch like before the event. And so CNCF actually set that up. We got some sponsors and it was an awesome event because it was just a gorgeous brunch. Actually, it was awesome. Women wore dresses, and you don't really see that at tech events generally, but people felt comfortable enough to wear whatever they wanted and just talk about whatever they wanted. They didn't have to talk about diversity. A lot of times like women are kind of like pushed to talk about solving the diversity problem, and most of the time women in tech just want to talk to people about tech. So we wanted to create this space where you could just talk about whatever you wanted and hang out, and it's been really great because people get to meet each other before the event and then hang out during the event, and it's my favorite thing.
Yeah, even when I meet, I mean, that's what I'm talking to you also.
Yeah.
When I like to talk to women leader, so I don't talk about how they feel as a woman, because
Yeah.
the thing is, you're a leader, that's period, I want to talk to you as a technologist, not as a woman.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's very important, to just not talk about diversity, just bring them forward and
Yeah.
then talk about the actual topics,
Exactly.
not about that. So it's
Yeah.
also, and it's really good to see that Linux Foundation's, project, they're like a vector of change.
Yeah.
So much influence is
Yeah.
going on, and the good news is also that these companies which are involved, that change will go back to them also.
Yeah,
will change
absolutely.
their culture as well.
Yeah.
Anything else you would like to touch upon, or I think we covered?
I think we covered it all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your
Thanks for
time. I
having
really
me.
appreciate it, and we'll see you in Shanghai and then Seattle.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll be following you everywhere. That as long as you guys can keep.
That's
Because
great.
it's a small community, the thing is, it's a small community, so
Yeah.
you have to bump into the same people over and over
I
and over
know,
again.
yeah,
So
yeah.
and it's fun also.
Yeah.
So because it's kind of evolves beyond just knowing somebody, because you build a friendship and then you see
Yeah.
those same people again and
Yeah.
again. So
And then you get their perspectives over time.
you see the evolution from both sides.
Yeah.
That you can. So once again, thanks.
Thank you.